the Black Night of Sekhmet. In the timeless sands of ancient Egypt, where the Nile's life-giving embrace flowed beneath a sun that burned with divine intensity, there was a goddess named Sekhmet. She was known as the Eye of Ra, a warrior whose heart was as fierce as her beauty was captivating. Her goddess-like grace, above all, would tether the hearts of mortals to their kings, particularly to those who would become her greatest loves, the twin brothers, Horus and Set. Horus, the falcon-headed god, was celebrated for his determination and unwavering pursuit of justice. Set, his dark counterpart, was a god of chaos and storms, feared and worshipped in equal measure. The people of Egypt adored them, but it was the sisters amongst the mortal women who often whispered tales of betrayal and rivalry. The alluring Sekhmet attracted both brothers, but her heart could only love one. It was a time filled with splendor. The pyramids were still gleaming with fresh limestone, and the inhabitants thrummed with promise as they revered their deities. Yet the radiant light that bathed Egypt cast shadows lurking in the hearts of men. Driven by ambition and jealousy, the brothers eventually fell prey to the very darkness they embodied. Under the lush boughs of palm trees where bright blooms danced to the whispers of the warm desert breeze, Sekhmet would meet the kings. Each evening, she donned her adornments of gold and lapis lazuli, her heart thudding with the joy of love. During these moments, their shared laughter mingled with the tranquil sounds of the Nile. Laughter echoed around them, delightful and pure, until ambition transformed the air between them into a battleground. The first crack in their union manifested in a fleeting moment of weakness. Whispers of power tempted Set, and soon he sought an alliance with a rival kingdom, a formidable enemy of Horus. Temptation turned treachery, and as Set cavorted with conspirators in the shadows, he laid seeds of discord between himself and his brother. Sekhmet could feel the shift, the change of tide. The air had grown heavy with unspoken betrayal. The last evening she spent with the brothers was marred by an undercurrent of tension. Horus wished to confront Set about the rumors swirling through Egypt like locusts descending on crops, but Sekhmet urged patience, fear flooding her heart. Brothers should not turn on one another, she implored, her voice as sweet as honey drizzled across fresh figs. Yet deep within she sensed the gulf widening between them. The moment the sun dipped below the horizon, casting its last rays across the Great Pyramids, the sky ignited in hues of crimson and violet. It was that night the fracture ignited into flames. Set's ambition blinded him, and in his frenzy for power, he turned against his brother, twisted accusations painting Horus as unworthy of his position. In a grand gathering of the kingdom, where nobles and common men stood shoulder to shoulder, the brothers faced one another, anger roaring like lions. "Behold the betrayal of Horus!" Set bellowed, his voice echoing through the crowd. "I shall claim the throne and release this land from the false justice he preaches." In the rising clamor, Sekhmet's heart shattered, her wings clipped by the tumultuous atmosphere. She stepped forward, her eyes brilliant pools of molten gold. "You cannot forsake brotherhood. You are gods, bound not only by blood but by a sacred promise." But the warring hearts were enraged beyond reason, and her pleas fell on deaf ears. The brothers clashed, divine power annihilating the night, each strike suspended in time, sending tremors through the crowd. Sekhmet watched helplessly as the devastation unfolded, each blow resonating with the agony of love lost. The battle raged fiercely. The clash of power reverberated in every corner of the kingdom. Ultimately, Horus prevailed, but it came at an unimaginable cost. Set, furious and defeated, retreated into the shadows, leaving turmoil in his wake. In the aftermath, guilt twisted mercilessly within Horus as he looked upon the destruction caused by their battle. The cries of the fallen echoed like a chant of despair. Yet it was not the war that crushed Sekhmet. It was the insatiable ambition of kings that sent a blade through her heart. Time passed, but there was no healing. Betrayed, she withdrew into the sanctuary of her sorrow, mourning not only for the love she had lost, but for the madness that had taken the gods she once revered. In the gloom of her despair, the scars of betrayal grew deeper, festering like a wound that refused to heal. Her divine form transformed into an embodiment of darkness, a humanoid cat shrouded in skin as black as the night. With each sunset, Sekhmet wandered through the labyrinth of her despair in the underworld, a realm shadowed by forgotten dreams, where the souls of the departed labored endlessly. Here she lingered in anguish, her vengeful essence contorting into a powerful resolve. She so frequently heard echoes of the brothers' conflict, the voices of those who had prayed and wept, haunted her both comforted and tormented. "I will let them know the cost of betrayal," she whispered, rage bubbling beneath her skin. "I will return to the land of the living. I will bring plague and devastation upon them until they feel the anguish that pierced my heart." So it was that Sekhmet plotted her return, harnessing the darkness of the underworld within her. As she worked, the very fabric of Egypt quivered, the air thickening with anticipation and dread. As morning light emerged once again over the Nile, casting golden rays upon Egypt, a chilling wind swept through the land. Whispers of impending doom began to ripple among the people. The cracks of unrest spread like wildfire. Rivers turned murky, crops shriveled, and a sense of unease settled over the ancient kingdom like a heavy fog. Days turned to weeks. The rising Pharaoh, a descendant of the brothers, sensed the unfurling chaos. His name was Amun, chosen by fate yet burdened by the past. Observant and wise, he sought the counsel of scribes and priests who spoke of a dark omen. The goddess Sekhmet had returned. In the sanctum of his temple, the candles flickered as he gathered the elders around him. "What does it mean to anger the gods?" he asked, his voice steady yet laced with concern. "What must I do to restore balance?" Once the goddess brought healing, but now she is shrouded in darkness. The tales speak of her insatiable wrath, born from betrayal. "Perhaps it is time to journey into the underworld and confront her," replied an elder, his face aged and wise. Amun knew that the path to the underworld was perilous. He would need courage, for he must face the goddess whose heart was now hardened by grief. He thus took a deep breath, readying himself for the quest to uncover the truth behind the goddess's vengeful return. Greeting the dawn, he donned his ceremonial garb, feeling the weight of destiny pressing upon his shoulders. With a sacred staff in hand, he led his men through the temple grounds, performing the rituals necessary to please the gods. Offering seeds, bread, and perishable herbs to the skies above, he hoped that Sekhmet would not only hear his call, but perhaps find within herself a thread of compassion lost in the shadows. Days grew heavy with prayers and an anxious anticipation among the people. Each dawn heralded a new plague threatening the kingdom. The Nile ran red with blood, locusts streaked across the sky, and disease crept steadily through the population. Unruly winds howled in the empty streets as if they carried the voice of the vengeful goddess herself. During these times of darkness, Amun reinforced his resolve. With wise counsel and unwavering authority, he prepared to descend into the realm of Sekhmet. Under draping linen cloths, he sought protection, rousing the faith of the people to believe in hope and diplomacy over vengeance. "I shall find her," he declared, "for only through understanding can we hope to end this suffering." With determination etched upon his features, Amun invoked the sacred incantations, opening the gates to the underworld where Sekhmet's essence writhed in the shadows. The air turned colder as he descended into the depths below, illuminating his path with the torch he carried. And so he ventured forth, the weight of the past heavy upon his heart, a boy at its core, yet burdened by the destiny of kings. The descent into shadows. Amun's heart raced, thrumming like the wing beats of a trapped bird in his ribcage as he ventured deeper into the underworld. The air thickened, wrapping around him like the night itself, acrid with lingering despair. Treading carefully on the cool, hard ground, he passed through an archway adorned with hieroglyphs that tell tales of souls lost, yet yearned for redemption. With every step, whispers of the damned brushed against him, their voices a cacophony urging him to turn back. "Foolish child of the sun," they croaked, their tones echoing with tampered regret. But Amun held fast, reminding himself of the urgency to bring Sekhmet back from darkness, lest she unleash further devastation upon the world above. "Sekhmet," he called into the thick stillness, his voice resolute. "I come seeking you, the fierce protector. I come with an open heart, yearning to share the truths of the past." The shadows deepened in response, coiling around him like black snakes. As hope flickered in his heart, he pressed onward, recalling tales told by the elders, how Sekhmet once healed the sick and brought balance to the fragile threads of existence. In the heart of the underworld, Amun reached a chamber veiled in darkness, illuminated only by the soft glimmer of countless emeralds embedded in the walls, glowing like stars against the void. At the center of this chamber stood a figure, ethereal yet haunting, the goddess Sekhmet, her form shrouded in the night. Her molten gold eyes glinted with a feral light, reflecting both rage and melancholy. The darkness rolled off her frame as she regarded him, an unyielding silence between them, an electric moment of recognition that felt ancient, eternal. "Why do you intrude upon my grief?" she hissed, her voice low, yet carrying the weight of 1,000 storms. "You are but a child playing with matchsticks in the dark, prone to igniting an inferno." "I have come not to ignite flames, but to quell those that rage above," Amun asserted, stepping further into the luminous chamber yet maintaining a cautious distance. "I seek understanding, not conflict. My ancestors wronged you, Sekhmet, and their actions have echoed through time. Please, let me speak." Her form shifted, the shadows coalescing around her. A low growl escaped her lips as Sekhmet advanced, her feline features gaining a predatory edge. "What knowledge do you possess that could soothe the anguish they birthed? Your pain cannot be undone, but perhaps it can be understood. You were a goddess of love and strength, betrayed repeatedly by those you cared for." Amun's own heart ached for her. "Yet your wrath brings suffering to so many innocents who have done you no wrong. I stand before you not as a king seeking power, but as a man who wishes to heal." Skepticism carved lines across her features, whether of indignation or curiosity, he could not tell. "You speak of healing amidst carnage. What power could protect you from the storm I unleash?" "Only the hope for peace," he replied firmly, raising a hand in sincerity. "We cannot quell the storms by drowning beneath them. You possess strength unrivaled. It is time to wield it for restoration instead of annihilation." The chamber fell silent, the air heavy with tension as Sekhmet considered his words. In that tense stillness, she flicked her tail, a shadowy arc in the air, and snorted dismissively. "You think pleas of peace will heal these scars of betrayal?" "I do," Amun said, determination intertwining with vulnerability as he faced her. "I want to learn from you, to understand your pain. Perhaps there lies a path back to the light, a reconciliation between us." The rage flickering in Sekhmet's eyes began to flicker and fade. Tension in her frame momentarily lessened as she turned away, her gaze drifting through the shimmering emeralds that held memories of the past. "Foolish mortal, you bleed kindness into a land where only betrayal thrives. But tell me, what do you know of love? What do you know of loss?" "I know how the heart aches when treachery clouds one's vision," Amun replied quietly, a shadow of sorrow passing over his features. "I lost my mother to disease. My father spent his years buried in duty and sorrow. I understand longing, and I understand the weight of expectation." Sekhmet turned back to face him, her expression shifting to something softer, almost sorrowful. To know love is to know pain, to wield strength while bearing the shards of betrayal upon one's heart. An echo of empathy sparked in her eyes as memories washed over her, joyous laughter and the warmth of brotherly love mingling with icy cold betrayal. "Where are they now, the brothers who wronged me?" she demanded, a low rumble vibrating in the depths of her throat. "Do they languish under the weight of my plagues, or do they laugh in defiance of my name?" "They are no longer the kings they once were," Amun replied, swallowing the lump forming in his throat. "The lands are choking under the plagues you have brought. Fear has supplanted their power, reducing royalty to beggars before the truth they cannot escape. They know not how to reconcile, but my desire for balance can restore them." For the first time, he perceived a flicker of curiosity in Sekhmet's expression, a crack in the armor, sculpted by grief and vengeance. Yet dread lingered beneath her caustic words. "And what of their hearts? Would they confess their sins before me? Would they even wish to appease a goddess they once betrayed?" "Perhaps, but first we must forge trust together," Amun urged her, stepping closer into the warmth of her burgeoning presence, the shadow around him whispering for him to withdraw. "I know that showing them your wrath is not the vengeance you truly seek. It is their redemption that will grant you peace." A flicker of interest ignited in Sekhmet's eyes, a small ember against a backdrop of darkness. Her deep-set gaze studied Amun's earnestness, evaluating the weight of his words. Would it hold true, or was he yet another mortal seeking favor? "Very well," she pronounced finally, her voice resonant with an unsettling mix of power and vulnerability. "You shall guide me to those who wronged me, and I shall witness the weight of their regret. Show me that they are worthy of healing, and if they are not, I shall unleash upon them the full force of divine judgment." With a deep breath, Amun nodded, heart swelling with purpose. "Then together we shall confront their past." The thunderous reunion. In the fleeting moments before dawn, Amun and Sekhmet crossed the threshold from the underworld back to the realm of the living. The night sky slowly melted into hues of lavender and soft gold, unlike the shadows they had just left. As they traveled among the stars, Amun felt the presence of invigorating light brush against him, a stark contrast to the darkness that enveloped Sekhmet. They manifested upon the lands of Egypt, and as Amun inhaled the air of life again, he became painfully aware that the earth was suffering. Farmers in fields struggled against rival plagues, and mothers cried over the feverish bodies of their children, their innocence snuffed out from the storms of suffering Sekhmet had wrought. "We must act quickly. The people are weary, and fear rules their hearts," Amun declared, resolute in his purpose. Sekhmet's feline features narrowed into focus. "It is time for them to know the love I once held, alongside the fear I now wield. They must understand both my pain and my strength." The pair approached the city, where the sound of mournful cries echoed through the streets. They witnessed the citizens' eyes filled with dread as they spread tales of impending doom. Sekhmet's shadows writhed at the edge of their vision, winding around the unwary as twilight ghosts of despair encircled their path. Directing their steps to the grand palace, Amun entered the entrance where nobles once thronged. Before him stood the remnants of great kings, fearful, humbled, and far removed from who they had been. Horus and Set, born of the same blood, now trembled like wayward children under the weight of their consequence. "Pharaoh, the goddess Sekhmet returns," Amun declared, his voice ringing through the marble hall, echoing against the walls adorned with emblematic depictions of glory and betrayal. Horus and Set turned, confusion etched distinctly over their features. Their eyes widened as they beheld Sekhmet, cloaked in shadows yet fierce as the lioness that gave her life. "I have come," she said, her voice a low growl, powerful, compelling, and filled with danger lingering in every word. The air thickened as she fought the urge to unleash every sorrow upon them, battling against that vengeful instinct. "Do you recall the heart I offered you, the love that you cast aside?" she hissed, venom threaded in each syllable. "What would you do now that the tables have turned?" Horus stepped forward, bearing the weight of past decisions upon his shoulders. "Goddess, we were once bonded in love. In our blindness, we built empires and tore apart legacies, but it was not my intention to dismiss your fidelity." Set stepped beside him, dark and indignant, but with a flicker of humiliation beneath his bravado. "We were fools ensnared in ambition. If only we had seen your heart rather than just the throne." "This is what your greed has wrought," Sekhmet roared, the shadows swirling around her, a tempest threatening to consume every mortal presence nearby. "You tore apart the fabric of divinity and betrayed the very essence that binds us together." Fear afflicted the brothers as they took a step back, submerging into their own guilt. "What can we do?" Set asked, desperation lacing his voice. "How can we make amends?" "You must face the depths of your betrayal," Amun interjected, his voice steady without the quaver of fear. "Only through acknowledging the wrongs you have wrought can healing begin. It is not merely with words, but through your actions." The air turned frigid as Sekhmet directed her focus on Amun, recognizing the truth he spoke, feeling sincerity radiating off him like the warmth of the sun at dawn. The brothers looked upon her, seeking forgiveness, yet knowing well they must chart their course through the destruction they had caused. "Your choice has brought suffering that has plagued our land, yet if you seek earnest intentions, speak them," she commanded, her voice resonating as she wrapped herself in the aura of judgment and compassion intertwined. Both brothers knelt, their forms bowed as the weight of remorse washed over them. "We promise to lead our people back to the bonds forgotten," Horus spoke earnestly, tears glistening in his resolute eyes as he lifted his voice. "We will rebuild what we have shattered and teach our people to honor the love that birthed their very souls." Sekhmet stepped closer, the shadows swirling around her still as her heart felt torn, between the need for vengeance and the faint glimmer of restoration radiating from them. "Do so quickly," she warned, her voice dropping to a whisper, heavy with possibility. "Or the divine retribution shall revisit upon you, and you shall wish for darkness instead." As she turned, an overwhelming surge of hope permeated the air, infused with glimpses of light as day broke through the dark. Sekhmet, cloaked in the essence of mourning, yet softened by the bonds of her brotherly love, felt the flicker of healing ignite within. "Be swift, kings of Egypt," she urged as the shadows enveloped her, momentarily obscuring her frame. "Only in your renewed journey together may the storms of suffering relent." The brothers nodded in acknowledgement, determination swelling within their hearts. United in purpose and spurred by the newfound resolve, together they would price into their people's hearts the promise of restoration, and perhaps Sekhmet's pain would dim to echoes rather than roars. The reckoning of Sekhmet. Even as Sekhmet loomed like a storm over the brothers, the fragile resolve of Amun hung in the air, flickering like a candle in the shadow-filled halls of their palatial sanctuary. Though they beckoned the gods for purification and reconciliation, they could not unearth the true demons lurking within their hearts, the very nature that had led to betrayal and calamity. The brothers swore oaths of restoration as they had pleaded with Sekhmet, but pride clung to them like a shroud. In the depths of their souls, unearthing genuine remorse proved more challenging than they anticipated. With each proclamation of their intentions, they unknowingly enchanted a back door to their demise, igniting a cruel irony within the goddess's heart. Returning to the palace, Sekhmet remained hidden in the shadows, her feline form a reflection of her torment. Though the sun's rays beamed warmly over the realm, casting light that painted gold against the returning harvests, her heart pulsed with vengeance wrapped in seduction, a sense of power coursing through her as she envisioned the final act of a tale long awaited. "Amun," she whispered one night, summoning him with a seductive cadence. "Now the time has come to sweep them away. We must make our intentions clear." "What do you mean?" he questioned, his brow furrowing as he sensed an ominous shift in her tone. "Visit them as a friend, grant them respite, but let them know that beneath the softness lies a storm," she declared, revealing a malevolent glimmer that danced in her golden eyes. "Once they trust, we shall ensnare them in the net of their own making, as they once ensnared me." In her heart of hearts, Sekhmet reveled in the plan, envisioning evenings spent with the brothers filled with hollow laughter and false promises. She would seduce them, play upon their vanity, until at last they realized that the goddess they had sought to sway into forgiveness was not one to be trifled with. That night, cloaked in seductive appearance, Sekhmet transformed herself, taking on the guise of a captivating woman, an ethereal beauty exuding an allure that entwined the minds of men and garnered desire. Her skin glimmered in shades of obsidian, entrancing the two kings as she slipped seamlessly into their presence, a sultry phantom lingering in the air. "Kings of Egypt," she cooed, a melody flowing from her lips like honey. "I have come to offer you what you seek, relief from your burdens, beauty, and a night to forget. Let us feast, and in revelry we can banish the darkness of your past." Horus and Set stood transfixed, their eyes alight with temptation. The passion within them ignited, buried desires awakening as she beckoned them closer. With every glance, Sekhmet ensnared their senses, leading them into a banquet hall adorned with rare fruits, honey, and shimmering wines that tantalized their palates. As the festivities continued, the atmosphere twisted, coiling like smoke in the shadows. Hours slipped past, laughter mingling with the intoxicating sweetness of the wine she poured, bathing their hearts in the illusion of waning sadness. Sekhmet's laughter rang through the room, guttural and sultry, weaving a charm that drew them nearer. Yet, beneath this mirage of ecstasy lurked a serpentine slither of peril. With a raised goblet, she invoked ancient incantations veiled to mortals, drawing upon dark powers that awoke beneath the earth. "My lords," she sang, her voice laced with fervor, "let us entangle our fates as lovers do. Let us wipe the slate of despair clean, and in this night of passion, we shall dance with the shadows until dawn breaks the glass of midnight." As Sekhmet danced, her movements were a tempest of elegance, each sway meticulously orchestrated to entice the brothers' lust. It ensnared them completely, Horus seduced by the warmth of her curves, and Set, captivated by her haunting beauty. Each heartbeat echoed louder as they surrendered to their desires, the boundaries of brothers blurring before the goddess of vengeance. Yet with every fleeting moment, Sekhmet felt the pang of betrayal entwined with her own heart. Ensnaring the kings under her spell, each step of her engagement pushed her deeper into the void that had long plagued her. The vivid memories of heartbreak surged anew, unearthing the agony that crowned their hearts with betrayal. "Tell me," she purred, inching closer, her breath heavy with longing, "what fate awaits the one who loves fiercely but is spurned? Wouldst thou bestow upon a goddess the mercy of forgiveness?" Gripped by her allure, both Horus and Set leaned closer, lost in the dreamlike embrace of her presence. "Forgive us, goddess," they whispered, the tremor of their words sending fresh ripples of seduction through her being. With a swift, calculating grace, she drew her blade. The glimmer meeting the light, turning their gazes to the metallic sheen, just as the laughter turned to eerie stillness. "What mercy shall you bestow upon those who once loved you, only to rend your heart asunder?" she hissed, betrayal reflecting from her molten eyes. In an instant, the warmth of desire was eclipsed by the chilling dread of realization. Horus and Set recoiled, the weight of her words settling heavily in the air. "No, this cannot be," Set cried, his resolve faltering as he took a step back, horror painting his features. But it was too late. The warmth of their world crumbled around them. "The gods shall not be mocked," Sekhmet whispered, lowering her knife, her eyes burning with fury, yet glistening with an eternity of pain. "Know that love once offered can transform into blade-kissed vengeance." With swift, terrifying finesse, she advanced upon them, slicing through air heavy with despair. As their blood spilled along the cool marble floors, the echoes of betrayal resonated through space, reverberating across the void between gods and men, a haunting refrain of their shared truths. The brothers crumpled to the earth, their forms fading against the grains of time, encompassed by shadows. In that brief moment of finality as they slumped away from life, an exquisite smile greeted Sekhmet's lips, an expression layered with both pleasure and sorrow, sealing their fates. Their lives extinguished, Sekhmet stood poised, basking in the nourishing darkness that quickly engulfed the room. In this final moment, she felt a carefully crafted sense of satisfaction blossom within the depths of her being. They underestimated the power she wielded, the power of love entwined with the fury of betrayal. Gone were the kings who betrayed the heart of a goddess. They were but mere echoes, shadows of their own making. Yet beneath the weight of victory, she felt the loneliness rush back like a swift tide. In seduction, the thrill had masked her still bleeding wounds, but now, a void stretched vast and echoing. Her laughter rang like a distant bell, piercing the silence of the darkened palace, as she vanished into the shadows where she would reign, not as a goddess of love and vengeance, but as the eternal specter of wrath itself, lost amidst a kingdom of bones. Through the ages, tales of Sekhmet would haunt the annals of history, a fierce protector turned vengeful spirit. The tragedy of her heart mourned forevermore, the echoes of betrayal layered with the never-ending call of revenge heavily in the air. "No, this cannot be," Set cried, his resolve faltering as he took a step back, horror painting his features. But it was too late. The warmth of their world crumbled around them. "The gods shall not be mocked," Sekhmet whispered, lowering her knife, her eyes burning with fury, yet glistening with an eternity of pain. "Know that love once offered can transform into blade-kissed vengeance." With swift, terrifying finesse, she advanced upon them, slicing through air heavy with despair. As their blood spilled along the cool marble floors, the echoes of betrayal resonated through space, reverberating across the void between gods and men, a haunting refrain of their shared truths. The brothers crumpled to the earth, their forms fading against the grains of time, encompassed by shadows. In that brief moment of finality as they slumped away from life, an exquisite smile greeted Sekhmet's lips, an expression layered with both pleasure and sorrow, sealing their fates. Their lives extinguished, Sekhmet stood poised, basking in the nourishing darkness that quickly engulfed the room. In this final moment, she felt a carefully crafted sense of satisfaction blossom within the depths of her being. They underestimated the power she wielded, the power of love entwined with the fury of betrayal. Gone were the kings who betrayed the heart of a goddess. They were but mere echoes, shadows of their own making. Yet beneath the weight of victory, she felt the loneliness rush back like a swift tide. In seduction, the thrill had masked her still bleeding wounds, but now, a void stretched vast and echoing. Her laughter rang like a distant bell, piercing the silence of the darkened palace, as she vanished into the shadows where she would reign, not as a goddess of love and vengeance, but as the eternal specter of wrath itself, lost amidst a kingdom of bones. Through the ages, tales of Sekhmet would haunt the annals of history, a fierce protector turned vengeful spirit. The tragedy of her heart mourned forevermore, the echoes of betrayal layered with the never-ending call of revenge.